She moved from Ghana to the UK when she was 5 years old, and she was awarded the Member of the Order of the British Empire for her work in entrepreneurship. This week on She Means Business, we're talking to Lady Dentaa Amoateng. This is She Means Business. I am your host, Claire Munde. Hi, Dentaa.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm blessed, thank you.
Good to have you on She Means Business.
She Means Business. We're here.
You're here. You mean business. So I think a good point to start is to tell us why you're in Kenya. So you are Ghanaian and British, but we'll get to that. But why are you in Kenya?
I'm in Kenya because we have an event happening in Barbados on the 10th to the 12th of November. And we are honouring two people, actually. One is actually Kenyan, Charlotte Magei, who is a climate change ambassador. She won Earthshot in 2022. And she's a real advocate when it comes to climate change and getting the right stoves, right? We're also honouring the CEO of NBA Africa, Claire Munde. And she is, again, somebody that was the CEO of RDB in Rwanda, has, studied in Harvard, a great role model for young people. So GUBA stands for Grow, Unite, Build Africa. It started 16 years ago, and for the very first time we're going to the Caribbean, celebrating Africa and the Caribbean and its people.
Now, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. You said GUBA started 16 years ago, but we'd like to know your journey in entrepreneurship. I was doing a little Google search on you. I found out you're an entrepreneur, a TV producer, a musician, a presenter, and so much more. So tell us what your journey into entrepreneurship has been like.
We're born with many talents. And so growing up, so I was born in Ghana, and I was raised in the UK. So by the age of 5, my parents took me to the UK. And during that time, African parents, you can only be a doctor, nurse, engineer, because I was very good at singing, dancing, acting, and that I thought I was going to be an actress. But I did a little bit of acting. I did an album singing. I did a gospel album, and in 2009. I qualified as a pediatric nurse in 2001, became a senior nurse very quickly, but during that time I started GUBA, and it was out of seeing a lot of black people in the UK, Africans, that I felt there was no platform to celebrate them. And also during that time, there was a lot of black boys that were stabbing each other. Knife crime was huge in the UK. And so I was like, I wanted a platform to show them, like, you have great role models. There's people that you can emulate. There's people that you can look up to. And sometimes when you ask them, who do you look up to? They'll say, Bill Gates. And I was like, where's the African people? We should have a list of black people and Africans that we can say, this is who I inspire. So that's why we created the platform. Did it in the UK for many years. We've had so many people that have been awarded unsung heroes, because there's a lot of people that don't have their name in their bright lights, but they are working in the community. They're championing. They're doing so many amazing things, and sometimes they don't get that recognition. And I think that GUBA basically creates that platform for that recognition.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about your own experiences. You said it was a time where there was a lot of knife crime among black people. What has your experience been? You were born in Ghana. You moved at a very young age into the UK. What was your experience as a black girl in the UK? Yeah.
that was difficult because back in those days, I came with short hair, no hair. I looked like a boy, and I was dark skinned. I was the only black person in the classroom, and so I was bullied when I was young. But I think that those made me. And I remember going home and crying, and my mum would be like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, "I want to be white," because everybody's just like. Always, talking about my color. And my mum said something to me that I'll never forget. She goes, never, ever think that, what you have is not great. Sometimes they envy you. And so be proud of the skin that you're in. You're different, and that's why they are attacking you. And so that I kept that in my spirit all the time, that look, our skin is amazing. That's why people go out and try and do tanning. And so I learned to love my skin, and that's when I was like, I don't want to be white. No, I want to keep this skin color. But it was a very tough experience. But you know, when you have parents who are solid in your upbringing and teaching you that, you know, to be proud of who you are and where you come from, and I think that's kind of lived with me all this while. Yeah,
and I'd like us to go a little deeper into that because, you know, experiences shape you. As you said, you are the only black girl for the longest time. And I'm remembering Michelle Obama's book, The Light We Carry. She was saying that there were people who deliberately moved their kids to white neighborhoods so that they could get better chances. So for you, what would you say the impact, the lasting impact has been in your life? Because sometimes people have lasting wounds. You're the person who sticks out. You're trying to get a better opportunity, but at the end of the day, you're sticking out. So for you, do you feel that these experiences moving abroad shaped you in a good way, or?
Yeah, I think it definitely shaped me in a good way. We always say that your experiences definitely shape who you are, because you go through something and you have to come out of it. You then experience resilience. How resilient are you? And so I wouldn't change the past. I would say that, you know, what I've been through has made me want to celebrate ourselves, and want to say, look, representation matters. We need to have representation in all fields, and so I'm glad I went through what I did, and now I can talk about it and encourage my kids as well. You know that you're great. You can be great wherever you are, no matter your skin color.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the awards you have. You are Lady Dentaa. So you got an award, MBE. Yeah, from the Queen. From the Queen. Tell us a little bit about that, what the experience was like and why you were awarded that.
Sure. So in 2016, it was the Queen's 90th birthday honours. Every year she does honours, and I got awarded for basically bridging the gap between the UK and Africa. So I was doing a lot of trade missions, even like during Guba, where I'll take, you know, UK businesses to Ghana. I'll take Ghana businesses to the UK and try and expand and grow their businesses. And so I remember getting that letter and I was like, they must have the wrong name. It can't be me. Because at that time, I think I'd been doing Guba for like maybe 5 years. And whenever I heard MBE, which stands for Member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, I was like 70, 60 years old, you know, I was in my 30s. I was like, how did I get this? But I always say that, you know, you don't know who's watching you. You don't know the impact that you are doing. Sometimes you think that, you know, you're in your own corner, you're doing your little thing, but you are impacting on somebody's life. And so, yeah, it was an honor to get it. It's been an amazing journey.
Now let's talk a little bit about experiences and opportunities for women. This is She Means Business. Yeah. So, you know, we have the Africa Free Continental Trade Area, but sometimes when you speak to women in business, they don't even know what opportunities lie for me. We've just heard about AFCTA, but what does it mean for me? So tell us about you bridging that gap for people, African businesses to the world. Yeah. What opportunities lie therein for women specifically? Yeah.
And I love that. We, one of the things that we do is to advocate for women. So we did an event with Sarah Jake Roberts in Ghana, where we invited about 400 women to be empowered by her. During this year, Guba, we're actually announcing our 1 million women in trade. And so that is about having 10,000 associations with 100 women and putting them on a platform to trade amongst each other. And I think that's really powerful. How do we empower more women to trade globally? And even with the Caribbean, I always say that, look, we can't talk about being Pan-Africanism, Pan-African, if we are not including the Caribbean. There are people. The Caribbean has access to 44 million people. So if you're doing a package, if you're doing you have a product in Kenya, and you want to export it to the America, you can get it packaged in Barbados. And Barbados it's easier for them to transport it to Latin America, America, and the Caribbean. So we have access. And I think that we need to start looking at different opportunities. Yes, Africa for sure, but definitely the Caribbean as well, especially for us women that want to trade, that want to do big things. And I think these are the platforms that we need to be doing.
Okay. And for you personally, in your entrepreneurship journey, what are some of the biggest challenges you've faced, and how have you been able to navigate that?
I think it's always finance, you know, getting the money to be able to do the things that you want, getting people to believe in your vision. I remember when I started Gooba, I had to sell my car because I had no one that believed in the vision. And so you have to invest in yourself, but sometimes some women don't have that. So I think that banks need to do better at supporting women, more funding, more grants, and more people just believing in them, because we are people that can multitask. We're looking after the family, plus looking after business, plus looking after everything else. And so when you invest in a woman, you're more likely to grow other people in the community as well.
Yeah, and let's dive a little bit deeper into that issue of finance. Sometimes they say a woman has a very good business idea, but the way it's being packaged is not good, and that's what makes her get rejected when it comes to financing. So what piece of advice would you give to women out there about packaging themselves right, packaging their businesses right, so that they can attract the kind of financing that they want, and also speak about alternative financing, because sometimes we're so set on traditional funding, but there are so many other sources of funding?
Yeah, I think, you know, for someone to say, okay, that is not packaged right, how can you help them to package it right? Do you have the expertise? Is it someone that can write her business plan? Because sometimes you have an idea, right? But you don't know the business angle to do it, because you have this passion. You want to sell this thing, but you don't know how to go about it. So I think it's about having people that can help you do the strategy. What's the marketing strategy? What's the financial benefits? If I invest in here, or if I put my money in here, is it the best way? You need advisors, you need people that can help you. And I think that's why when some women have made it, it's important for them to give back and mentor other women and bring them up, because some of them don't have that experience. So have sessions where women who have made it can come and speak to other women about, look, this is where I went wrong, and this is where I think you should be able to go.
Okay, and in your own life, who would you say has been a good mentor, whether it's one-on-one or somebody that you look up to that you haven't necessarily interacted with on a one-on-one basis?
So many women. Definitely my mother, definitely June Sarpon. So June Sarpon is a huge presenter in the UK. And because I did presenting at that time, I just loved her. The fact that she was the only black person on TV during that time. That's why I mentioned that representation matters, because I could see myself in her. I have Anita Erskine, who's from Ghana, an amazing woman. We have Mavis Amankwa, so many other women, even Oprah. You know, growing up, I was like, Oprah, I want to be like Oprah. So there's so many women that have inspired my journey along the way. And I'm just happy to be here to be able to also share my journey with others.
Now let's talk a little bit about work-life balance, because as you mentioned, you know, we're juggling so many things. We're entrepreneurs, we're moms, how has that journey been like for you? You mentioned when we were talking before the interview, you're a mom of 4. Yeah. So how have you been able to balance all that, presenting, entrepreneurship, Gooba?
I have a very supportive husband who believes in the vision, and basically, actually he started the vision. He's the one that gave me all the ideas. But when you have somebody that believes in you, it's easy. It's easy to fly. They allow you to be who you want to be. And with the kids, I always make sure that I'm there on the important parts of their lives, which is the ones that they'll remember, which is their birthdays, Christmas, you know, the school activity that they, you know, you need to be there. And I'm always on FaceTime with them. I even do reading book sessions with my son over FaceTime. So I think that, you know, for women, when you have a supportive home, when you have your parents supporting, it makes you be able to have a clearer mind, because sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes you don't want to go on that journey, you don't want to leave them, but you know, the work has to continue, and for you to make that impact, also get the lifestyle that your children deserve, you have to make it work.
And you lived in the UK for a number of years, and then you moved back to Ghana. Yeah. Tell us about that. You moved during COVID. Tell us what the thinking behind that was and how it's been like.
Yeah, so in 2020, we decided to move back to Ghana. There were several reasons. So the first one was I was always promoting people to come back. So, you know, throughout Gooba, even though we're targeting the diaspora, the messaging was, look, look back home, come back home. And one of our events, one lady came up to me and said, I love the way you promote, going back home. Do you live back home? I was like, Yeah. I was like, good question. So that was in my brain, right? And then I remember my son came home from school and was like, Mama, do Africans really live on trees? I was like, hell no, we're not going here. We are not doing this. And so I wanted them to see Africa. I wanted them to see Ghana. And so that was really important for me, to connect their heritage, their culture, know who they are, and be proud of where they come from. And so in 2020, we decided to move back. COVID was perfect for us. It was the time to just move back, take them to school, let them be in Ghana school, let them learn the language, let them, really feel where they're from. And I'm happy that I did that, because as I mentioned, like in the UK, if you're in a particular area, you might get, some gangs there, and they are boys, and I have 3 boys and a girl. And I didn't want that in my life. So I think it's the best decision that we've made as parents.
Good. And let's talk about transitioning, because sometimes you speak to people and they're talking about, okay, we've been in the diaspora for a long time and we want to come back, but then that decision is very difficult. Yeah. You're used to that area, and then how do you just come back? Yeah. There's that reverse, that whole process. So speak about that. How did you prepare yourself? Sure. And you have children to come back. Yeah.
So, and that's why I set up, so I have Gooba Diaspora Network. So we help diasporans transition back home. Because when I went back to Ghana, I saw that, okay, I had to relearn our culture, relearn how the system works. I always say that, look, when you move to the UK, you learn to adapt to the system. So please don't come back home and not adapt to the system. Not that you should do the wrong thing, but you should just learn how the system works and fit yourself in there. Because otherwise we complain so much, things don't work and this and the roads and that, but we are the diaspora. We can come back and impact in the community. And so for me, I want positive things. I want us to, look, I know there's media already telling us about the bad things in Africa. It's about us to portray the good things. And I don't see why we can adapt when we go to America. We can adapt when we go to Poland. We can adapt anywhere. But when you're coming back home, it's like, you're just, I don't know, sometimes there's entitlement because we feel, this is where we're from, it should be this, it should be that. But no, come pull up your sleeves and get to work. People have made it, and you can make it too. And so I encourage the diaspora to come back. There is a system in Africa. Just adapt, learn, be patient. Because in the UK, you can register your business online and get it straight away. But Ghana, it might take 3 or 4 days, but you will get it done. Just have that patience. I encourage you to come, but just have that patience.
Yeah, and as we start to wrap up this conversation, we're wrapping up for now. You spoke about the Grammys. I want you to expound on that. You said that you were involved with the Grammys element in Kenya. Yeah. Speak to us a little bit about it.
So in 2023, we brought the Grammy CEO and president to Kenya to look at opportunities of expanding the Recording Academy. So the idea was to have our own Grammys. The Grammys have Latin Grammys, and they have obviously the one for the main big America one. And so they had the idea of us having our own, because we have so much music on the continent. It can't be celebrated on that platform. And so I was so happy to be part of that. We met the ministers, met the president, and it's an ongoing conversation. But really, I would say a big shout out to Harvey Mason Jr. for his vision and to connect Africa and the Grammys.
Interesting, because there's a big conversation around that in the country, but we'd like to see how that pans out. But as we wrap up now, I'd like you to look into the camera and speak to that woman who is in business, who's an entrepreneur, who is juggling things. Yeah. What is that one piece of advice you would give her about taking the opportunities that come her way and rolling her sleeves up, as you said, and getting to work and getting what she wants to get done?
I would say to any woman out there, look, don't let the the water that gets into you sink. You know, like some ships, when the ship is about to sink, right? Water gets into them and then it falls. Don't let that water sink you down. There's some stuff that you can wheel away, but always have the confidence and know the vision and know what you're about. You can do it. There's nothing in this world that's impossible, and we know that through the Bible. And so I encourage you to never, ever give up. Believe in yourself. If one door closes, go through the window. You can do it.
So you've heard it from Lady Dentaa.
Thank you.
Never give up. You can achieve all that you want to achieve. This has been She Means Business, and we've been happy to host Lady Dentaa. Until next time, have a good one.